Hey everyone, my best advice if you're looking at this video is you need to get to know your photographer. It is one thing to have and hire a company and a business that is website based, but you always want to get to know the person that's going to be doing your wedding and you're going to be corresponding with and talking to on your wedding day. So my best advice to you is get in contact with the person that's going to be shooting your day. So we're going to talk about the do's and don'ts, and we're going to educate wedding couples on things they should be doing with their vendors. Hey everyone, welcome back. So we're going to talk about companies and photographers and on your wedding day that you need to correspond with. Would you hire a catering company if you didn't taste their food? You probably wouldn't. You would want to know if you're going to have a clam bake of some sort, or a caterer to come in and cook Southern food, or a caterer to come in and cook, whatever food they're going to do. Is you want to do a tasting, and usually those tastings are done at the venue. So get in touch with your venue. Also get in touch with your venue when it comes to, they have a preferred vendors list. And it's usually an email that goes out to the couple after they've booked with that venue saying, hey, these are people that we've worked with. It is very important, you as a wedding couple, that you reached out to the ones that are on the list. And I say that because the lists are very important because it gauges who's photographed at your venue before. Now, just because a photographer has not photographed at that venue before doesn't mean that they're not any good and they wouldn't be a good fit for your day. So explore all of the options when it comes to that. It's very important because I've gone to so many different weddings where I've never been there before. I will look at what other people have done. I will look at other places that they've done it, and I will try to, if that's what the bride and groom want, incorporate what is there for the landscape of the day and duplicate or get shots like it, but put a twist on it that has a little bit more creativity to it. So it is very important that you reach out to your people. But let me just say this. I had a situation where a bride, I was not available for her wedding day. They hired me to do engagement pictures. So when we started talking about wedding plans, we did the engagement pictures at Harkness Memorial Park, and just absolutely amazing couple, amazing situation. I'll put a couple of pictures in and what we accomplished that day. Very, very fun, very, very fun. Well, I wasn't available for their date. I always try and give suggestions, but they already had suggestions. And what they said was they hired a company that was going to send a photographer. I had to be very careful how I answered this and saying, okay, well, who did you get? And what's the person's name? Oh, we don't know the person's name until, that person gets assigned to our wedding. So as I started to look into this a little bit, it looks like there's companies out there. I am a mom and pop. I am what you see as you hire me a photographer. This is what you get. I have subbed out weddings in the past round, but I've also made sure that the wedding couple has met the photographer first, had a coffee with the couple. We all got coffees together. We always did. All of our meetings were done together. All of our conversations were done together. All email correspondence were all done together. So everybody was on the same page. They approved the person I was subbing out before they signed the contract. That is the way it should be. And I made sure that they knew the person, had a conversation with them, and that's going to be the person that's going to be photographing your day. So they were perfectly clear with that. So let me just back up now. So the situation that they were in was they had a company that was going to send somebody out. They didn't know who the person was going to be. Well, what happened was they ended up getting their wedding day, which you cannot redo, images back, and they were very dissatisfied. None of the images, quality, or creativity matched anything on the website that they ordered through. That's red flag number one. Red flag number one is you want to make sure that the person that's going to be covering your day is what is there being shown on the website. The website shows beautiful images, and they're in almost every state, But what they do is they contact photographers in that state and then they sub them out to those people. So I asked a couple of questions very professionally. I wasn't looking for any names and I wasn't looking for any finger pointing. But I had asked, well, who was the photographer? Did you meet the photographer before your wedding? No, we did not. We had email correspondence, but that was it. I was like, well, how many weddings did they do before you found out that that was the person that you were getting? He was like, we didn't know. I was like, all right. So how about the day that they showed up? What was it like? The person that showed up was very, very young. Not that there's anything wrong with young photographers, but young implied to me, young in wedding photography. And proof of that is the images they got back from their portfolio from the company that they hired online. 90% of the images were blurry. Nothing was in sharp, nothing was tack sharp, nothing creative, nothing that matched the brand that they were hired originally. And then a lot of the images were done in a very candid style, meaning they had a lot of pictures from the groom. This is what the bride said. Only 3 pictures the bride and groom were looking at the camera. That's called candid documentary style. That's candid style. She didn't want that. She said, I have no pictures of my husband facing the camera. Now, there's a time for candid and there's a time for posing. And I do that style, or more 50-50. And I do accommodate that style, but it's depending on how the couple is when we meet. We have multiple conversations and engagement sessions to prove and to show and to get a vibe for how they are. If they are standoffish, they don't like their picture taken, then you're going to take the more candid approach. This couple wasn't like that. They wanted to be posed. They wanted to be facing the camera. They wanted to say cheese. They wanted to smile at the camera. And they have 3 images of them looking at the camera. And the rest is all the back of the groom's head and the side of the groom's head. She actually reached out to me to hire me again. And we are going back out to where we did the engagement session the first time. And they're bringing their dress, they're bringing their suit, and we're doing their wedding portraits all over again because we can't redo the reception. We can't redo that. So this couple is now paying twice, and they're paying in the long run because now they have no pictures for their, it was not a good situation. So they were very, very disappointed with the results that they ended up getting back. The style and the look and did not match what the website was. So advice to wedding couples and educating wedding couples is know who is coming to photograph your day. If you have a company, no problem with that. Make sure you ask them, I want to know the person that's coming to my day. I don't know what their name is. I want to know what their email address is, and I want their cell phone number. I want full contact with this person at all times. If the company does not comply, red flag. Also, you want to ask that company, okay, Josie's coming to do your wedding. That's awesome. How many weddings has Josie done? And hopefully they're truthful, red flag number 2, and tell you, oh, they did 15 weddings per year, or they do 7 weddings per year, or they do, in that area, they do this. Next question is, I want to see a style of posing done by Josie. Are they up on your website? No, Josie's images aren't up on the website. Red flag number 3. You want to see the individual's pictures that's coming to your day. And if they're truthful, they're not going to say, oh, that couple right there is from Josie, and it's really not. And I'm not accusing anybody, but it's very deceiving when it comes to the style that people are getting. And this person is not very happy. They now have to pay me twice because they didn't get their images they paid for the first time. They were all blurry. They were discolored. The white balance was off. The husband wasn't even looking at the camera. And now they're not happy. So now they have to go back out again. And you're probably going to say, well, that's good for you. No, it's bad for them. Because if this company does 75 weddings a year all over Western New England, and they're pre-hiring people to go out in their name, not everything can be fixed in post. Not everything can be fixed in post. So you can't rely on everything to be fixed afterwards in the computer. So if you have an inexperienced photographer, they send out and they take a bad image, that's not good for the company to have to be able to do that. So they need to vet their people a little bit better. Whoever they're sending in their name is now a representation of that company. So that said company now, if they have a bad experience, and 5-star reviews are gold. You know, if this bride decides she wants to do a review based on her experience, she is well within her rights to do that. And she's well within her rights to be able to go to that company and say, what you see on your website was not what was produced the day of my wedding. That photographer was very inexperienced, did not shoot the style that they wanted, and the couple did not get what they wanted. That's a big problem. And what happens is these companies that are, you know, subbing the work out, they stay very inexpensive with pricing. And when they do that, they beat out other photographers in the area that have shot at that venue before, and they have more experience, and they do more weddings per year, and it's a reflection of my company. So when I go out and I do a wedding, it is a reflection of me. And when I get that 5-star review, that's a reflection of me. And that's what a company wants. And if you can't produce that, and if you're not producing these legit people that belong on the websites and you're just subbing the work out, that's just not good for these couples to get involved with companies that are not sending qualified photographers out. So, things you should be asking your photography company. I don't care if you apply, if you're doing, same thing with videography. If they're doing a package deal and they're sending these people out, they better be qualified people that can do the job. Otherwise, it's a reflection of that company. And when they get bad reviews because they're sending bad people out, inexperienced people out, that's a reflection of that company. So that's going to rank on the website and the internet. So you should be asking, okay, who's coming to do my wedding? Josie's coming to do your wedding. Okay, how many weddings did Josie do last year? On her own, not as a second shooter. Josie did 12 weddings by herself last year. Okay, perfect. I want to see what Josie's website looks like, or if she doesn't have a website, I want to see her images that she's done and some of her past weddings. You have the right, as a wedding couple, to ask for previous wedding styles, galleries, not galleries, necessarily galleries, but you want to see some images that were done by Josie, particularly in the past, and you have the right to do that. And if they don't comply, you should not be signing a contract with them. So you should be very careful of that. Second of all, you want to know you want to know their name, email address, and phone number. You want to contact them. You want to know how long they have been working for you. How have you been to that venue before? These are all questions you should be asking that photography company, that video company. You should be asking how many weddings have they been doing, and you want to see what their work looks like. You have the right to do that. So you should be asking all of these different questions. Who does your editing? That's another question. Okay, if Josie's coming to take the pictures, when they send them back to you, who's doing the editing on there? And if you look at the website, there is some that are dark and moody, and there is some that is light and airy. And I understand having weddings that you can vary, and I think that's great, but it's not a reflection of the brand. Brand must be consistent. And if you don't have consistency, oh, this person does this kind of style and this person does this kind of style, that's great. But whatever photographer that they hire, that person better be sent that does that style. So if you're looking for that light and airy and you get the guy that shows up that does the dark and moody, and then your images get edited that way, you're not going to be happy. So know your photographer before you even start. Name, email address, phone number. And you need to have a conversation with them on the phone. You want to say, this is who's going to be, I need to be comfortable with you in order for you to be able to take my picture and be comfortable. Well, I'm a little bit like this. I'm a little bit shy. That photographer needs to know that, not by conversation, not a note in the inquiry that says, okay, this couple is very shy, so you need to do this. I want a conversation with those people. And my wedding couples, they have multiple conversations with me on style, editing, who does your work. They have all these questions answered before they even have a contract even fulfilled with that. I would even go even to the point of getting a meeting in person. Name, email address, get them on the phone. Hi, Josie. I would like, before I hire this company, I would like to have a meeting with you in person. I live in X, you live in X. Where can we meet? Second of all, they shouldn't be sending somebody from Vermont when your wedding is going to be in New Hampshire. So if they're going to sub it out, they need to have a sub of that wedding photographer that belongs in that state and or that region. Red flag. So also, can we meet in person? No, I live too far away from me. I'm 3 hours away from you. Wait a minute. You're 3 hours away from me? Okay. my wedding is 3 hours away from you. What happens if you have traffic on the way to my wedding? Red flag. All of these questions you should be asking your photographer and the company that you're hiring to do that. These are all questions you should be asking them. All of these different things. Can you meet with that person? Well, we don't allow that because of whatever. Then you know what? That's not the right company for you. Find another company, find another photographer that works in that area, that has experience in that area, and somebody you can have a physical conversation with. All of my wedding couples, I always try and get them on the phone. After they hire me, before they hire me, get them on the phone, have a conversation. This is me. If you meet in person, this is me. If you're gonna hire me, I want to have a conversation on the phone, if not right after the contract is signed, because sometimes, here's a scenario, sometimes there is a situation where parents are helping the bride and groom because they live in another state and they're coming here to do their wedding because of their college jobs took them away from the state, but they're getting married here because all their family is here. That is a situation where you might not be able to meet in person, but conversation on the phone should be happening no matter what. I don't care what state you live in. You should be having a conversation on the phone. Okay, let's do an engagement session. Okay, you're coming to me? Great. I'll meet you here. We're going to do it this. Great. And then at that, if you're not happy with those, you'll know the style when it comes to that. But that's after you've already got into a contract, which now you can't get out of. I'm trying to help people before they get into a contract, questions you should be asking before you sign the paper. So all of this is just to educate wedding couples on their wedding day. When you're hiring a photographer, make sure you know who it is. Make sure you know what they're doing. Get a phone number, get an email address, have a meet in person, have a Zoom, whatever you need to do. You need to know the person that you're going to be photographed with so you don't end up in the situation with this other bride that ended up getting images that were not the same as what was advertised on the website. They came out blurry, and they came out with bad white balance, and they came out with the groom not even looking at the camera. So not the style that they want us to. Be educated, ask questions. You have the right, and if they're bothered by your questions, they're not the right person for you. You need to be very patient with your clients so that they get a good feeling from their experience with you. And at the end of the day, they're going to be happy with what they did. So ask the questions, get phone numbers, find out the company that's going, find out the photographer that's going to be coming to your day, what their style is, how many weddings that they've done, and be educated so you don't run into this situation where now you got to write a bad review and you cannot redo your wedding day. All you can do is redo your wedding images of the bride and groom going someplace afterwards, 4 months later, doing it later on. You can't not redo your reception and your first dance and your first kiss and your ceremony. You can't redo all of that. So pay attention, be educated, and I hope that helped. If you've had a bad experience with companies, don't name the companies. It's not about naming the companies. It's about holding the companies accountable for who they send in their name. That's what it's about. So if you've had a bad experience, leave it down in the comments. If you're a photographer and you agree with this or disagree with this, leave your comments down below. I'd like to see how you feel about other photographer companies that just sub the work out and they just send just anybody, inexperienced or not, hoping they can fix things in post. So thank you guys for coming back to the channel. Hit that like button, hit the subscribe button, and I appreciate your time as always. And remember to smile more because it sure does hurt less. Peace.